Welcome back to another weekly recap for the prep series. Today we'll be recapping 2 weeks out from the INBF WNBF Venetian Classic and then setting the standards for peak week. As always, we'll cover some training, nutrition, have posing for you guys. It is currently Monday, so you'll see the posing footage from yesterday, which will be officially 1 week out. So that's pretty cool. Show is on a Sunday, so some of the dates and stuff will be a little bit off with the peak week, but we'll kind of talk through that as a whole. And speaking of training first, I won't cover my normal training like structures and everything. If you are curious my full like program, now that's normally built out, definitely check out some of the other videos in the prep playlist series for that, for all of my exercise selection, rep schemes, whatnot. But we got a lot to cover in terms of prior week and then also setting the standards for peak week. So we are going to hop right over into the nutrition from last week as well as cardio and activity. So on screen you will see the last 2 weeks of prep. So 3 weeks out was just 1 week post show from the OCB Lone Star Rising. So that's why some of the macro numbers at the beginning of the week were a bit higher. Just a couple of days there that I also was feeling under the weather and tend to eat a bit more those days to help with recovery and whatnot. But ultimately got back on track at 2 weeks out fully. Average macros were 233 protein, 232 carb, and 69 fat, so caloric total of 2448. And that is honestly probably a pretty aggressive deficit for me for the most part. But ultimately, with just a 2 week gap in between shows and wanting to pull off a bit more fat, that was the intentions, to get pretty aggressive. And then ultimately, after this show, we will take a diet break or essentially a week or two at maintenance, depending on how we're looking, how we're feeling, to kind of pull back on the fatigue as a whole. Because at this point in prep, I'm very good at checking my daily boxes in terms of training, cardio, nutrition. And then outside of that, the non-exercise activity levels are just like non-existent, to be honest with you. So hopefully a diet break there will help out with that lethargic feeling, but that is a part of just being at stage lean or pretty close to like very, very good condition, or I guess as some people like to call it fat free, but obviously not quite fat free. But yeah, moving on then to cardio. Cardio structure hasn't changed for many weeks, still doing 200 calories structured, which will be the incline treadmill at a 12.5 incline, 3 miles per hour for 20 minutes. And then additionally, always just hitting a step goal of 10,000 steps per day. And as you guys will see, the weights kind of balanced out throughout the week. No huge 4 pound jumps like the week that I was sick, and just sleep was all over the place, as well as obviously body fluids and whatnot. So very happy with kind of the more even weigh-ins throughout the week. And came down another 1.71 pounds, so a pretty aggressive cut there. Would like to see that number closer to a pound or even a little bit under at this point in prep, just to maintain as much training performance as well as retain as much muscle as possible. And now hopping over to the peak week, the strategy will look more or less the same. And I believe it is prep episode 24, if you guys are curious, on the prep playlist for full like breakdown and reasoning of the peak week structure that I am taking. But ultimately this go around, we will have a very similar structure of a 3-day depletion, 2 higher carb days, and then like a day at maintenance prior to show, to kind of monitor how we're looking, if needed, pull back if we spilt over, or add additional food depending on how we're looking. And then one thing I am gonna throw in just to try out is a bit higher fats the day before the show. I personally feel like I didn't fill out as much as I could have for the OCB show, as well as just another like side note tangent that I want to cover once I get the full photos and stage footage from that and show recap, is just getting a better pump up backstage, whether that's adding in a bit more food and liquids as well as sodium in the morning of. And then just the venue was ultimately super cold, so it's hard for me to get a pump backstage, but we'll dive more into that in the future. And then structure 3-day depletion, 2-day carb up, that one like maintenance day before show day. And then as we get deeper into the week, we will start to taper off the cardio and steps from the 200 cals and 10K just down to 8K plus steps. And that's kind of a loose number. Honestly, if I'm anything over 6K, that's good. It's really just steps to aid in digestion at that point. Baseline, just water, sodium, potassium. That'll be something that'll be more just even keel with throughout the week, not manipulating super hard. And I don't really think it's going to add too much to the physique. And also with this show, flying to Phoenix, I know sometimes flying can cause water retention issues for people. So just going to try and keep the sodium, potassium, and water pretty much the same throughout the week, just with slightly elevated water, sodium, and potassium in the last few days to help facilitate the carbohydrate uptake, as well as on that day before the show, a little bit increased potassium through foods. And then also you can do things like lemon water will help with diuresis and just peeing out any extra fluids that you're holding. And then show day, just set kind of baseline macros for myself. Obviously, we'll be playing that more by ear. And then kind of hopping over, I will show you guys my full like meal plans on screen. Not gonna delve into this too much, but ultimately we'll be looking to keep a similar structure to last peak week. And I will do some more just daily vlog style videos to kind of run through it. One thing that I am kind of swapping out is honey, just because you can't fly with honey or peanut butter for that matter. So we'll be swapping in just almonds as well as Rice Krispies and raisins will be the two kind of food swaps for easier carbs on the go that I can travel with. And then once we get to Phoenix, we'll take care of just a quick grocery haul, make sure we have good meals that we can stay structured with. But that really sums it up for the peak week structure that we got going on. Obviously, a lot of moving parts and a lot of adjustments will be made on the fly. And I guess one last thing, just was prep, apologies, scatterbrained, so all over this place. But for the training, we'll have a full push session just to start the week, Monday, just the day that I'm recording this. And it's just going to be at about 80%. So what that'll look like is just same structure of the workout, just taking probably 2 reps off of some of my bigger compounds and top sets, and then keeping everything else very much the same for push and pull. And then we will just have a leg pump session on that Wednesday instead of a full leg session as normal. We want to start to taper back the cardio, or excuse me, the training and cardio for that matter. That'll help reduce fatigue in the body, as well as if your muscles are damaged, they're not going to be able to uptake carbohydrates as well. So the big thing is just being rested and recovered, while also still just maintaining that fullness, aiding in digestion through really more movement than anything for the pump sessions to get a good sweat going, and just keep the muscles contracting, kind of pumping the carbs into the muscle, I guess you could say. It's ultimately doesn't work quite like that, but yeah, we'll go just leg pump session, and then we'll do a chest and back pump session as well as shoulders and arms. And then one day out, we'll just be light posing and relaxing, just monitoring the physique, feet up. We'll have a good amount of show day stuff like the polygraph, tanning stuff to take care of. So we just want to keep stress as low as possible. And then show day, obviously, just going to keep the feet up, do very light posing to check how we're looking throughout the day. But that pretty much sums it up. Hopefully by now you guys have seen all the posing content from a week out on screen, as well as got to see the full structure of the peak week. If you guys do have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely leave those down below. If you are excited for the show day content coming in the future, definitely subscribe to the channel for more. And as always, have a great rest of your day and stay fat.